All right, guys, the illegal and offensive war waged by Trump and Israel against Iran has currently spiraled out of control. It is an absolute nightmare, and it is not going how they thought it would go. So sit back and relax, because I have 1,000 updates for you, and they're super duper important. So let's start with this. Breaking war news. Multiple U.S. jets have crashed. Multiple. So as of right now, it's 3 that we know of. They say it was Kuwaiti-friendly fire that led to these jets crashing, and I believe the 3 pilots are injured, but okay. But that's hundreds of millions of dollars up in smoke like it's nothing. Iran has also struck a Saudi Aramco oil facility. Okay, that's a huge deal because we need oil and gas for the entire world, and Saudi Aramco gives us a lot of our gas. And so this means supply shock for gas prices, and people are going to be struggling. I hope your gas tank is full, because prices are about to go up, up, and more up, okay? So that's crazy, crazy stuff. And by the way, in this instance, it was a drone that was shot out of the sky, which then crashed into the oil facility. That's what happened, and that's what's leading to this massive fire. I'll show you the video here in a second. Iran also hit an Amazon data center in the UAE, and Saudi officials are accusing the U.S. of abandoning Saudi Arabia and redirecting its air defense to protect Israel. Quote, they left all the Gulf states that host American military bases at the mercy of Iranian strikes. So they're furious, because they're also allies. And remember, these are like luxury getaways. It's like the playground for the 1% and the Epstein class. And now their tourism industry is going to be absolutely obliterated, and their the way they make money through selling oil and gas, that is now being obliterated as well. So here's the video of what the Saudi Aramco facility looks like. I cannot overstate how big of a deal this is. Just incredible. Absolutely astonishing. Breaking, Qatar Energy stops liquid natural gas production. If Qatar has shut down all its liquid natural gas production, 14 trains, as the statement's wording suggests, that's roughly 20% of the world's output. As a single company, Qatar Energy is the world's largest liquid natural gas producer. So, Saudi Aramco hit, leading to a supply shock. Also, Qatar Energy stopping their liquid natural gas production. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, gas prices are going to absolutely skyrocket. I need you to know that now, okay? Trump is basically calling up every journalist in his phone to workshop different timelines and goals for his war. So understand here, you're about to see he has no clue what he's saying and what he's doing. Yes, he's evil. Yes, he's an imperialist warmonger, but also he's completely and utterly incompetent. So look at this. To the Washington Post, Trump said, the aim is freedom for the people of Iran. To Axios, he said, maybe we can end it in 2 or 3 days with a deal. To the New York Times, he said, it might be 4 to 5 weeks. I have 3 very good choices who might take control in Iran. So which is it? Is it a couple days or is it 4 to 5 weeks? Then he says to ABC, actually, never mind. We killed the people who we thought could take control of the country. This is a disaster. This is just an utter, utter disaster. Jeremy Scahill says that the Iranian Red Crescent is reporting that 555 people have been killed by U.S.-Israeli bombs of Iran to date. So as of right now, it's at least 555 people in Iran who've been killed. Mostly civilians, by the way. Mostly civilians. The Israelis are currently carpet bombing Tehran, the capital city of Iran. And there's body bags all over the place. You have families weeping and crying over the bodies of loved ones. This is happening right now as we speak. Okay, the Secretary of War Crimes, Pete Kegsbreath, he came out and gave a speech this morning. He said, quote, this is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it. Okay, dude, that makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. You're saying it's not a regime change war, but it's a regime change war. Somebody said, I bet he was up late drinking, trying to workshop this on ChatGPT, and he thought he nailed it when he said that one. All right, another thing he said, quote, we didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Okay, another ChatGPT-ass line. You quite literally did start the war. Everybody knows you started the war. You and Israel started the war. You did an illegal and offensive attack against a country that wasn't going to attack us and wasn't going to attack Israel. And we have some reporting that we'll get to later. Iran had agreed to the strictest U.S. and Israeli terms. And after they agreed to it, within hours, they got attacked. So yes, you quite literally did start this war. I don't understand. Like, this is my problem with right-wing postmodernism. Like, they just make shit up and they assert it 1,000 times and they pretend it's true when it's the exact opposite of the truth. It's so disturbing. We also have this. Hegseth doesn't rule out U.S. boots on the ground. He does not rule out U.S. boots on the ground. Also, Trump just said the same thing. Trump just said, I'm not going to rule it out. And when somebody brought up to him, hey, the polling for you is really bad on this, he said, I don't care about polls. I'm going to do what's right. No, you're not. You're going to do what Mossad and Israel want you to do because they have Jeffrey Epstein blackmail that they're holding over your head, which is why we call it the Epstein War. That's what this is. This is the Jeffrey Epstein War, or Operation Epstein Fury. Secretary Rubio conveyed to the Gang of Eight that the U.S. chose to strike Iran because Israel had already decided to launch an attack beforehand. The U.S. could either strike Iran alongside Israel or after Iran retaliated against U.S. bases in the region. This is an incredible admission, ladies and gentlemen. The admission here from Marco Rubio, from Little Marco, and from Donald Trump is that, hey, we're the cucks. We're the betas. We're not the alphas. We're not in control. Israel decided to do the war, and what were we going to do? We, of course, did the war with them. Why would that be an of course? Why would that be something that everybody is like, oh, yeah, of course, Israel attacked, so you have to attack? Why? Why? You're assuming, like, us and them are one and the same and that he's your boss. Unless you're admitting that indeed is the way the system works, because the Israel lobby and the military-industrial complex has bought you and Trump and all you Republican freaks. Just truly incredible, man, what we're witnessing here. Sometimes I run out of words and ways to describe this. Senior U.S. officials told the Washington Post that the situation inside the Pentagon is bad. Quote, inside the Pentagon and among some senior members of the Trump administration, there was deepening concern on Sunday that the Iran conflict could spiral out of control. By the way, I'd argue it already is spiraling out of control. The mood here is intense and paranoid, one person said. There is anxiety among senior leaders that the fighting will extend for weeks, further stressing limited U.S. air defense stockpiles. They're running out of interceptors. So the damage is going to be even worse as soon as we run out of those. There is concern about this lasting more than a few days, said another person. I don't think people have fully absorbed it yet. What that has done to our stockpiles. It often takes 2 or 3 interceptors to ensure a missile is stopped. So they're launching rockets that are maybe $250,000 a piece. We're spending $50 million in interceptors to try to knock down the rocket, and we only partially knock it down, and it still does damage. This is completely and utterly unsustainable. We've also given so many different kinds of weapons to Israel and Ukraine that our stockpiles are low. In no way, shape, or form were we prepared for this or ready for this. You literally had U.S. generals in the Pentagon saying to Trump, I don't know about this for reasons X, Y, and Z, and they just totally blew it off. Again, it's almost like there was blackmail from Mossad and Netanyahu being held over Trump's head. Like, hey, we have those videos of you with those underage girls. You want that to leak or you want to do the regime change? How about this one? The EU has reached a panic moment as not all member states have sufficient energy reserves. A leading energy analyst says the EU is likely to increase energy imports from Russia. So all of that work to isolate Russia after they illegally and offensively invaded Ukraine, and now Trump is destroying it because when they're desperate, they're going to get gas wherever the hell they can get gas. And the answer is Russia. So Governor Greg Abbott tonight reposted and then deleted a video clip claiming to show a U.S. vessel shooting down an Iranian plane. Bye-bye, he wrote. But it's not real. The clip, commenters pointed out, appears to come from a World War II video game called War of Thunder. And so here he is. It says, bye-bye. Look, I get fallen for some misinformation every now and then. It happens. In these moments, there's a lot of misinformation floating around on social media. But falling for some video game shit? Really? That is a boomer-ass mistake from Governor Hot Wheels. And it's embarrassing. Meanwhile, everything's falling apart. The war's an absolute mess. It's a catastrophe. It's going very wrong. And here he is, like, posting a video game clip, pretending like, hey, look, we're fucking up the enemy, bro. So embarrassing. Here's the CENTCOM update. They said, as of 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, March 2nd, 4 U.S. service members have been killed in action. The 4th service member, who was seriously wounded during Iran's initial attacks, eventually succumbed to their injuries. So right now, the Trump regime is admitting 4 U.S. soldiers killed, 4 of them. By the way, they would be alive if it wasn't for Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump waging this illegal and offensive war. The blood is on their hands. I think they're lowballing it because Trump has hinted a number of times that, hey, it's actually higher. The number of dead people is actually higher. So Iran says, and I'll show you this right now as well, according to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Council, they targeted various American bases in the region, resulting in the deaths and injuries of 560 U.S. military personnel. They say 560 dead and injured, okay? And by the way, they also attacked hotels where they knew U.S. intelligence and U.S. military people were staying. They attacked those too. And they claim they have direct hits. They claim they had high-level intelligence where they knew exactly where they were. So here's my best guess as of this moment, and obviously we'll learn more as time goes by. But the truth is probably somewhere in between the 560 that Iran is saying and the 4 that the U.S. is saying. I wouldn't be surprised if we have at least 100 U.S. soldier deaths at this point. At least that. But here's some other massive, massive news. After seeing Iran's explosive response across the region, the U.S. is begging for a ceasefire, and Iran has rejected it outright. Okay, so this is from Ynet. Ynet says, according to one source, an American official conveyed an even more immediate proposal through a mediator, apparently Italy. He suggested reaching a ceasefire agreement today or tomorrow. Iran rejected the idea outright. So why would the U.S. ask for a ceasefire? Well, the answer is simple. We're running out of the interceptors. Our weapons are depleted, okay? If they keep going and we fully run out, they're going to do colossal damage, both to Israel, to Tel Aviv, the heart of Israel, and to our Gulf Arab allies, and to our military bases in the region. And they're already, those places are already cooked right now. Like, our military bases are largely barbecued. But when we run out of those interceptors, they can do even more damage, okay? And so that's why. And Iran knows they just want to do this so they can reload, so they can replenish. So we're not going to give them that. The U.S. mistook Iran's ability to negotiate for weakness. It was not weakness. They didn't want this fucking war. But you put it on them when you illegally assassinated their head of state. And so now they're just counterattacking. And they're making it hurt. They're going to do a massive shock to the global economy so that the populations of all these countries hold their governments accountable and say, you're not fucking doing this. We're not going to fucking die for Israel. Listen to this, guys, because this is the whole ballgame here. Netanyahu says Trump fulfilled his dreams. In bombing Iran, Israel now has the assistance of the United States, my friend U.S. President Donald Trump, and the U.S. military. This coalition of forces allows us to do what I have yearned to do for 40 years. He's saying the quiet part loud here. That's what this is. Hey, I've wanted to do this for 40 years. I've yearned to do this for 40 years. In other words, all the negotiations, all of the talks, it was all bullshit. It was all a ruse. They had no intent on making a deal. Even if Iran gave Israel and the U.S. everything they wanted, which they mostly did that, here's Netanyahu saying, I wanted the regime change anyway. So they were liars. They were con artists. They were scammers. And the media needs to wake up to this fact. Stop pretending like this is a both sides thing or like it's the Iranians' fault. No, quite literally, here you have Benjamin Netanyahu saying, I want to do this for 40 years. I was going to do regime change no matter what. Because they want to destroy Iran as a regional power player. That's what they want to do. And make it so that they can create that greater Israel. They could dominate the entire Mideast. And so their goal is not just to be a regional superpower. They want to be a global superpower. And he's all but saying it here. By the way, another thing that's basically the quiet part loud. Washington Post says, quote, the attack came despite U.S. intelligence assessments that Iran's forces were unlikely to pose an immediate threat to the U.S. mainland within the next decade. In other words, they weren't going to attack us. This isn't defensive. That's total bullshit. They couldn't threaten us for 10 years. They wouldn't be able to threaten us, even if they wanted to. But they did the attack. So beware, because when shit keeps going sideways, they will retreat and pretend like this was defensive, okay? Now you know it is not defensive, not even close. No senior Trump officials appeared on the Sunday shows today. That was yesterday. Not only rare, but especially notable given many administration officials recognize the steep task they have in explaining the reasoning behind and the overall objective of the Iranian attacks to the American people. Guys, they didn't appear on the Sunday shows because they're panicking. They're panicking. Iran is way more powerful than they thought. They're doing way more damage than they thought they could do. And they're running around like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off. Trump's an idiot. Pete Kegsbreath is a fucking idiot. Marco Rubio's an idiot. Our government doesn't know what the fuck it's doing, and they're in awe of Iran's capabilities. Breaking news, Trump says his potential candidates to lead Iran have been killed. That's right, we discussed that before. The people that they thought would take over, oops, we killed them. And actually, maybe Israel is killing them quite literally on purpose because they want Iran to be a failed state. They don't even want like some functional government that's somewhat aligned with them. They'd rather have it be a failed state so they can bomb there whenever the fuck they want, sort of like in Lebanon. That's what they do in Lebanon. Massive strikes in Tehran's western Chitgar district. Chitgar has been a hotbed of opposition. It's likely that some of the people killed in these airstrikes were protesters and perhaps even supporters of foreign intervention. I repeat myself. They're doing this because they want Iran to be a failed state. They don't want them to be able to regionally push back against them. They don't even want a puppet who they fear at some point might turn on us anyway. They want it to be a failed state. They want it to be balkanized. They want it to be at civil war. That's what they want. And Israel will stop at nothing to get it. Because again, their ultimate goal is creating a greater Israel in the Middle East. Jonathan Carl says the following. In another phone call this evening, President Trump told me this about the death of Ayatollah Khomeini. I got him before he got me. They tried twice. Well, I got him first. Okay. Total fucking idiot. Played like a fiddle by Mossad. Iran did not try to assassinate you. That's the most preposterous lie I've ever heard. There's zero fucking evidence. Zero evidence on that front. But apparently he believed it to one extent or another, and now he's bragging about killing the Ayatollah. It's crazy, bro. Same as, this reminds me of George W. Bush saying, I killed Saddam Hussein because he tried to kill my dad, George H.W. Bush. That's what this reminds me of. Again, being played like an absolute fiddle. By the way, some reporting indicates Israel was the ones who actually fired the shots and killed the Grand Ayatollah. But here's Trump taking credit, because in this moment he thinks, oh, it makes me look good if I say this. Sooner rather than later, people are going to realize, no, you're not going to want to take credit for it. In the same way that now nobody wants to take credit for even killing Gaddafi, because Libya became a fucking failed state. No, these regime changes are always a fucking disaster. But he's so stupid, he thinks like, I'll just take credit for this one. So, and I'm sure Netanyahu, even if it is Israel that killed the Grand Ayatollah, they'll let him do it, right? They'll let him do it, because they don't care how it gets done as long as it gets done. Now, this is a huge deal, y'all. This is a huge deal. So Trump comes out and gives like an update speech. He says basically nothing of substance, but he does give us one moment, which is absolutely eyebrow-raising to everybody. Listen to this.
Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is.
Sadly, there will likely be more. Oh, that's the way it is? You're very casual and nonchalant and blasé about Americans dying in a stupid foreign war that was totally unnecessary and not defensive by any stretch of the imagination. Quote, that's the way it is. Quote, that's the way it is. Democrats, I hope you're running ads right the fuck now with this line. That's the way it is when it comes to U.S. soldiers dying. By the way, they will never utter a peep about the over 150 elementary school Iranian girls that they murdered on day one. They're never going to do that. But by the way, there's an embedded hint in here too. The number's definitely going to go way up. And it's already probably way up, but they're just hiding it and they're just slow rolling it. So what a moment from the American president. I should also point out, and I'll show you a headline about this in a little bit. As Trump is sending Americans to die and killing little Iranian schoolgirls, he was literally partying at $1 million fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago. I'm not kidding. Gold furnishings all around him, looking like the fucking roaring 20s. You know, people dressed in fucking Gucci and Versace and all sorts of expensive shit, raising $1 million per plate at a fundraiser as he sends Americans to die. Not a care in the world for this guy. Not a care in the world. Caitlin Collins says the following. President Trump did not answer and shouted questions on Iran when he returned to Washington tonight. So the reporters were asking him a bunch of questions on Iran, and he didn't comment on Iran, but he did comment on new statues that have been installed in the Rose Garden, and he yelled at reporters, unbelievable statues. So they're going, sir, what do you say to the families of the Americans who were killed fighting overseas? And he goes, these are incredible statues, aren't they? Because he put new statues where the Rose Garden used to be, where now he put a fucking Ramada Inn patio, tacky Ramada Inn patio. He's going, look at these statues, they're incredible. This guy, he doesn't give a fuck about you. He doesn't give a fuck about anybody but himself and his wealth, his narcissism, his self-aggrandizement, his greed, the Epstein class. That's who he cares about. More. The death toll at the Shajare Tayyip Girls Primary School in Minab has risen to 148 dead and 95 wounded. So that number is only going to go up and up. I think I even saw 180 something. Iranian state media reported. Most of those killed were between the ages of 7 and 12, killing a bunch of little girls in the Jeffrey Epstein war. Everybody's bringing up these old videos of Trump, and they are endless. So here's one, Trump in 2020. We've spent $8 trillion in the Middle East, and we're not fixing our roads in this country? How stupid? How stupid is it? And we're not fixing our tunnels, our bridges, our hospitals, our schools? It's crazy. Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? It is crazy, isn't it? Here's a compilation that goes on for 2 minutes and 34 seconds, where he, in a number of different speeches and, addresses, says over and over and over, like, no foreign wars. Kamala's going to get you killed in foreign wars. No foreign wars. There's even times where he goes, I'm definitely not going to war with Iran. I wouldn't go to war with Iran. In fact, here's this one. I can tell you, you're not going to have a war with Iran with me as president. With her as president, you might. With me, you won't. Guys, this is what I need you to understand. If you voted for Trump, just apologize. Just be like, my bad, I was wrong. That's it. Just be like, I was wrong. He's a con man, I was conned. He's a fraudster, I fell for it. He's a scam artist, I fell for it. I was wrong. And it's sprinkle in, and by the way, Kamala would have been way better. If you want to begin to get back to a place of healing, own it. Fucking own it. Don't run away from it. Own it. Yeah, I fucked up. I was wrong. All of you guys were right. All the liberals and the leftists, you were not hair on fire. You were not crazy. You were fucking totally vindicated. That's what you need to say. Daily Mail says, third wave of Iran suicide drones batter Dubai, destroy a hotel in Bahrain, and devastate airport as revenge attacks for Ayatollah's death hit Westerners. Here we go. The current situation at the Strait of Hormuz. Remember, they're shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Again, massive supply shock. Gas prices are going to go up. A vessel off the coast of Oman has been attacked. At least 250 ships have dropped anchors across the Middle East Gulf and coast of Oman and the UAE. War risk insurers have submitted cancellation notices for policies on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Maersk is now suspending all shipments through the Strait of Hormuz. Brent oil prices are trading up plus 10% over the counter. Regional leaders warn U.S. that $100 barrel oil is a clear and present danger. Insurance costs in the Strait of Hormuz are skyrocketing. Financial Times says, brokers have told the Financial Times that war risk insurers have submitted cancellation notices for policies covering ships moving through the Strait of Hormuz, a key oil checkpoint, with prices set to rise as much as 50% in the coming days. So Trump, when Khomeini was killed, he came out and he did this whole like, congratulations, Khomeini, one of the most evil people in history, is dead. By the way, how many wars did he start? I'll wait. How many wars did the Grand Ayatollah, the current Grand Ayatollah, or until a couple days ago, Grand Ayatollah, how many did he start? The answer is 0. Any mention of the fact that he repeatedly says, we don't want nuclear weapons because they're un-Islamic? Did they mention that? No, of course they don't mention that. The most evil person in history. Okay, calm down there, fella. So he does this whole thing, basically patting himself on the back and sucking himself off like, now you have a chance, the people of Iran, you're now free, you're welcome, you're free. Meanwhile, people are comparing that to George W. Bush's statement after capturing Saddam in 2003. Quote, in the history of Iraq, a dark and painful era is over. A hopeful day has arrived. All Iraqis can now come together and reject violence and build a new Iraq. History repeats itself very clearly. Breaking, major American bombing of central Tehran just now. Look at this. Some of these plumes of smoke are so gigantic that it actually makes me think, are they dropping the Moab, the mother of all bombs? Like, this is crazy. Look at this. Central Tehran. Also, carpet bombing in central Tehran. Listen to this. It sounds like it's a fucking thunderstorm. That's how aggressive this is. That's how much they're dropping bombs. Watch. Central Tehran. Again, you'll see later they are purposefully targeting innocent civilians. Because that's what Israel does, by the way. That's what they do. They just did that in Gaza in front of the world, live streamed in 4K. They fucking got away with it. So now they're like, let's also do it in Iran. Let's do a genocide in Iran. Why not? All right, ready? At least 20 Iranian civilian martyrs in Israeli missile attacks in Nilofar Square in Tehran. Look at some of these pictures, bro. These are incredible. These are incredible. Look at this. Look at this devastation that we're looking at here. Here's a grandma with her face totally covered in dust. Looks like a kid being held by her father. If I continue here, another kid with dust on her face. They're running away, probably scared for their lives. Here's what looks like an older woman with her face totally covered in dust being picked up from rubble. Here's another one, looks like a dead body, laying in rubble. I mean, this is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting. CNN, quoting 2 sources, said Saudi Arabia and the UAE were secretly paying the United States to carry out strikes against Iran. So their public posture was, oh, we don't want this war and the U.S. can't use our air bases. And then in private, they were like, please topple Iran, get them out of the way. That's what was happening. And by the way, as you all know, Iran is targeting Israel, they're targeting our military bases, and they're targeting oil infrastructure and like hotels and stuff in these countries. They are no longer stable. They are no longer safe. The top 1% won't be visiting these places anytime soon. So they are going directly for the heart of the economy in the Gulf Arab states. So basically, Iran is getting them back for this. That's effectively what's happening. Police say at least 6 people have been killed in clashes as hundreds of protesters stormed the U.S. consulate in Pakistan following the killing of Iran's supreme leader. And you can see here in the title of the AP piece, at least 22 people killed in Pakistan as protesters try to storm the U.S. consulate. If you're in a U.S. consulate, U.S. embassy, fucking anywhere, man, you are not safe right now, dog. You are not safe. because the world absolutely despises us. They see Israel and the U.S. waged an illegal and offensive war. They see it, and people do not take kindly to that in any way, shape, or form. The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad has been overrun. Thousands flood inside, grabbed heavy gear. Trump just ignited a new Middle East firestorm. Here's the video of that. Here we go. A little more than 1 year of Donald Trump being back in office, and the world is falling apart, quite literally. The interceptors are running low. This was the primary argument against starting the war in the first place. Meanwhile, Iran is still firing missiles and is estimated to have thousands left thanks to reconstitution assistance from China. Trump realizes the Iranian regime will not fall immediately, aims to end military operations soon, says commentator Nahum Barnea. U.S. proposed quick ceasefire. Tehran rejected the offer. So yes, the interceptors running low is an absolute nightmare scenario for the U.S. We've already depleted at least 50% of our stockpile. It's classified how much we actually have, but that's the idea, is at least 50% are gone. This is a nightmare. Massive breaking. Iran has struck the oil tanker Skylight near the Strait of Hormuz. 4 sailors were injured. The attack took place 5 miles north of Kasab port in Oman. The attack occurred after the ship ignored Iran's order not to enter the strait. Oil prices are about to skyrocket when the market opens. Look at this.
2% inside have.
They are not playing around. They said, Israel and the U.S. started this, we're going to finish it. The Iranians start attacking energy this soon. This would mean that they're trying to cause as much pain as quickly as possible to force an end to the war. They're going immediately for the Samson option. The Iranians can hit critical nodes like Abiqaq or Abshan, crippling the Saudi or Emirati oil industry. They can hit Kuwait at will with a similar effect. So how to read this attack? It's a signal that they will go up the value chain and strike more important energy facilities. They're threatening to burn the entire region to the ground, including its energy, if the war continues. They want to maximize the pressure on the global economy. China has almost 1 billion barrels of oil in stockpile. It imports 11.5 MBPD, half coming from the Middle East through Hormuz. China can survive this. Europe is screwed as it cut itself off from Russia. America produces its own oil but does have large imports. The Iranians are saying they will wreck the entire world economy before surrendering. Samson option. Breaking. An Iranian Shahed has just struck a UAE oil platform in the Persian Gulf. Okay. So here we have the son of the former dictator, I guess you should say, of Iran, the Shah. He's going all over Western media and just telling flat out lies. Listen to what he says to Maria Bartiromo.
Well, Maria, this is time now for a very strong, stable transition. I am leading this transition. I have the support of millions of Iranian people. I have the people inside the country that are joining and broadening the coalition of forces that will be at play in filling the boxes.
That's just a total lie. I'm doing the transition. No, you're not. You're not even in the country. He literally said in an interview, oh, if I were to lead Iran, I'd only be there part-time because, my life is here in the United States. What the fuck are you talking about? Literally, history is repeating itself. Go look up Ahmed Chalabi. Ahmed Chalabi was the person that the U.S. said, oh, when we topple Saddam Hussein, he'll run the country. He'll control the country. He'll be their leader. He was a total liar. He was a total con man. And then Saddam was toppled. That guy had no popular mandate. Chalabi couldn't run the country. It's the same shit now with Reza Pahlavi. It even fucking rhymes with Chalabi. Just unbelievable. All right, Trita Parsi, super important comment here. Let's go through it. He says, number 1, Tehran is not looking for a ceasefire and has rejected outreach from Trump. The reason is that they believe they committed a mistake by agreeing to the ceasefire in June. It only enabled the U.S. and Israel to restock and remobilize to launch war again. If they agree to a ceasefire now, they will only be attacked again in a few months. For a ceasefire to be acceptable, it appears difficult for Tehran to agree to it until the cost to the U.S. has become much higher than it currently is. Otherwise, the U.S. will restart the war at a later point, the calculation reads. Accordingly, Iran has shifted its strategy. It is striking Israel, but very differently from the June war. There is a constant level of attack throughout the day rather than a salvo of 50 missiles at once. Damage will be less, but that isn't a problem because Tehran has concluded that Israel's pain tolerance is very high, as long as the U.S. stays in the war. So the focus shifts to the U.S. From the outset, And perhaps surprisingly, Iran has been targeting U.S. bases in the region, including against friendly states. Tehran calculates that the war can only end durably if the cost for the U.S. rises dramatically, including American casualties. After the assassination of Ayatollah Khamenei, Iran says it has no red lines left and will go all out in seeking the destruction of these bases and high American casualties. Number 5, Iran understands that many in the American security establishment had been convinced that Iran's past restraint reflected weakness and an inability to or unwillingness to face the U.S. in a direct war. Tehran is now doing everything it can to demonstrate the opposite, despite the massive cost it itself will pay. Ironically, the assassination of Khamenei facilitated this shift. Number 6, one aspect of this is that Iran has now also struck bases in Cyprus, which have been used for attacks against Iran. Iran is well aware that this is an attack on an EU state, but that seems to be the point. Tehran appears intent on not only expanding the war into Persian Gulf states, but also into Europe. Note the attack on the French base in the UAE. For the war to be able to end, Europe has to pay a cost. The reasoning appears to be there appears to be only limited concern about the internal situation. The announcement of Khamenei's death opened a window for people to pour onto the streets and seek to overthrow the regime. Though expressions of joy were widespread, no real mobilization was seen. That window is now closing as the theocratic system closes ranks and establishes new formal leadership. Again, the question, how will this end, should have been asked before this war was triggered. It wasn't. Holy cow, that are phenomenal, detailed updates there from Trita Parsi. Everybody go give him a follow. Buildings destroyed after the U.S. and Israel hit the Gandhi Hospital in Tehran. Remnants after the attack. You can see the attack on this building here. And if I remember correctly, this actually was not the only hospital that was attacked. Here's another video of the U.S.-Israel strike hits Gandhi Hospital in Tehran. Newborns rush to safety. Jesus Christ. It looks like they're literally rushing premature babies to safety. Looks like that's what that is. Holy cow, man. Holy cow. Iranian Red Crescent stated that Israel just struck multiple hospitals in Tehran. Here we go. Oh, man. You can see this is literally the hospital right here, and it's on fire. So Israel doing the Israel playbook, that's what they do. They go after civilians, they go after hospitals, they go after schools, then they pretend they're not doing that. All right, so here we have Tel Aviv getting hit. Iran launched hundreds of missiles into Tel Aviv late Saturday night, causing damage in major central areas. These retaliatory strikes followed the U.S.-Israel attacks on Tehran, Isfahan, Shiraz, and other major cities across Iran earlier that morning. Here we go. Watch some of these.
Why? אוטובוס שלם עולה באש. אוטובוס שלם עולה באש. מכוניות, אנשים. לא מאמין. מטר מאיתנו, יש פה אוטובוס.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think Trump or Netanyahu gives a shit about the people that are dying in Tel Aviv right now? Do you think they care? They don't care in the slightest. They went into this knowing, I mean, Trump said, yeah, we're going to have Americans that die. Like, it is what it is, bro. You think Netanyahu didn't know this shit, that this was going to happen? No, of course he knew this. And he's fine sacrificing these people for the notion of a greater Israel. He says, yeah, well, you guys pay the price now, and then I create a greater Israel, and I get to rule over it. All right, Islamic Republic of Iran police headquarters after airstrikes in Tehran. This is what I mean when I say they're trying to get a failed state. It's less about regime change and more about making Iran a failed state so they can't stand up to Israel, and Israel can take the entire Middle East. Look at this. All police stuff here. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at this. Jesus Christ. This is what Trump and Netanyahu have unleashed on the world. Okay, this is crazy and nobody's even really talking about it. This is insane to me that this sort of went under the radar for a second. So Trump posted the other day on Live Social. Iran just stated that they're going to hit very hard today, harder than they have ever been hit before. They better not do that, however, because if they do, we will hit them with a force that has never been seen before. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, this is the president of the United States threatening to use nukes. That's what this is. Here he is threatening to use nukes on Iran. That's what this is. So Netanyahu and Trump started illegal and offensive war against Iran, assassinate the Grand Ayatollah. Iran retaliates, and then he goes, well, maybe I'll just nuke you. By the way, you're crazy if you think he hasn't brought this up at least once in the context of this conflict. You're insane if you don't realize that. You're out of your fucking mind if you don't realize that. Okay? We're skating on thin ice here, bro. We are skating on thin ice. This man is unfit. You have to impeach him. Guys, I'm begging you. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. You have to impeach him. You have to impeach him. An illegal and offensive war against a country that didn't attack us, plunging the world into chaos, potentially World War III. Didn't get any approval from Congress. This is totally illegal, totally unconstitutional. Impeach him. Arrest him. Lock him up. He's not there. He's gone mentally. There's evidence he has fucking Alzheimer's. We have a dementia patient who could plunge us into World War III and kill Lord knows how many people. You have to impeach him or hit him with the 25th Amendment. Get him out of there. Get him out of there. I'm warning you right now. This will not end in any way that anybody can stomach. I'm warning you right now. He's threatening to use nukes. We're on fucking day 2 or 3 of this illegal war that he started. He's got to go. He's got to go. As I mentioned, Daily Beast, Trump parties with millionaires as American troops die. This is what he cares about, bro. He cares about the fucking Arc de Trump. He cares about the Jeffrey Epstein Memorial Ballroom at the White House that he wants to build. In a now deleted tweet, the U.S. military accidentally acknowledged that Iran hit Haifa's oil refinery. Wow. That's a huge deal, y'all. So the Iranian regime is actively targeting civilians, that's what they say, and has attacked more than a dozen locations. Dubai International Airport, Kuwait International Airport, Zayed International Airport, Erbil International Airport, Fairmont Palm Hotel, Burj Al Arab Hotel in Dubai. By the way, I should point out, the Iranians say they attacked these places. They knew U.S. intelligence and U.S. troops were staying in these hotels, and they had specific intelligence. They knew the floors they were staying on and shit. That's what they say. Okay, Crown Plaza Hotel, Bahrain, Port of Dubai, Haifa Oil Refinery, residential areas in Beit Shemesh, Israel, residential areas in Tel Aviv, and it goes on. In other words, holy shit, we didn't see this shit coming. So they deleted it and then removed the Haifa thing. Now, I don't know if they've since admitted it again, but both the U.S. and Israel, just so you understand, they are trying to hide all of the damage that we are incurring. I need you to know that. Like, Israel is trying to downplay any damage it's getting, and Trump is trying to downplay any damage we're getting. That's what they're doing. So just understand that like, as much as, oftentimes people see, oh yeah, authoritarian regimes lie. Everybody knows that. But you see that clearly when it's like some other authoritarian regime. No, but it's us now too. They're going to try to hide anything and everything. Okay, that's what they're going to try to do. If it makes them look bad, they're going to hide it. Israeli media reports the death toll has risen to 8 settlers, making this the deadliest Iranian ballistic missile strike on Israel ever. They're using ballistic missiles. I think I have a video of it in a little bit here. But they're targeting illegal settlers, illegal Israeli settlers in the West Bank. That's who Iran is targeting. And so there was this like bomb shelter they were in. The missile penetrated all the way to the bomb shelter and killed a bunch of people. This is one of the things that we know happened. Just insane. I think the death toll has gone up. So here it is. Hypersonic missile impact in Jerusalem. Watch this, bro.
Whoa! Whoa! Holy shit! Oh my god! Yo! No way! No way! No way!
That is incredible. See, this is what Iran said the other day. They were like, oh, we're just using our old missile stockpile now. Y'all have no idea what's coming tomorrow, dog. You have no idea what's coming tomorrow. And this is what they meant. Like, oh yeah, we're using the old shit. That's, much less powerful, lower success rate. And then they hit him with this again.
Whoa! Holy shit! Oh my god!
Iron Dome can't do Dickie McGee's axe to stop that, y'all. Can't do shit. Reports indicating these are launches from Hezbollah. So Hezbollah has entered the chat. The Shia militia group in Lebanon. Now they're launching missiles at Israel. It's kind of hilarious because the media is saying, oh my God, Hezbollah violated the ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel. Israel is violating it every day. Again, the Israeli idea of a ceasefire is you cease, we fire. And so now Hezbollah finally fights back and they go, oh, they violated it. Now all bets are off. And by the way, they are. Israel's now going hard at Lebanon because Hezbollah has entered the chat. Jeremy Scahill says, after a sports hall in Iran was bombed, witnesses described chaos and continuous screaming. Several hours after a bomb struck a girls' elementary school and killed 165, a strike killed teenagers in a gymnasium. Mahmoud Aslan reports from La Merde, Iran. And so a sports hall was also bombed. Ambassador Mike Walls, when CENTCOM posts, hey, we have some service members that died, he tweets, freedom is never free with an American flag. Evan says, they're fucking happy. They're getting off at the fact that Americans are dying. They don't even acknowledge the innocent civilians in Iran dying, but they're getting off that Americans are dying. Now, at the same time all this is going on, ready? An Austin bar mass shooter, possibly motivated by Iran attacks, Quran-founding car and FBI eyes terrorism after 2 killed and 14 injured. I think the death toll has gone up, number one. Number two, he was wearing a shirt, you ready for this? That said, property of Allah. So obviously a lot of people are speculating right now. This has like Mossad, CIA shit written all over it. Some mentally deranged person that they convinced to do this so they can turn around and blame Muslims and blame Iran. Like that's what this smells like. Is it possible that it's actual, like blowback for illegal war with Iran? It's possible. But also, really, you found a Quran in his car and he was wearing a shirt that said property of Allah? It's too on the nose. It is too on the nose. And to so many people now, left, right, and center, this smells like a motherfucking false flag attack to try to rationalize and justify further getting involved in this illegal and offensive war, which is now destroying the global economy and killing God knows how many people. Okay? So just a wild, wild story. All right, Al Jazeera English says, thousands of mourners have gathered in the center of Iran's capital after the killing of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in the opening salvo of a massive attack by the U.S. and Israel. So, understand that Trump goes, all right, Iranians, now go seize your government and go take control. That's what we want you to do. Take control. Trump goes out there and says that, right? And instead of Iranians going out there and opposition people trying to seize control of the institutions, it's literally the opposite. People come out in support of the regime and people come out opposed to Israeli and U.S. imperialism. Look at some of these pictures. There's a lot of people. Look, there's a lot of fucking people there. There's a lot of people there. Thousands of mourners saying, fuck you for killing the Grand Ayatollah. And if there's any, guys, this is what you don't understand. You're going to actually create a rally around the flag effect. You're going to create a rally around the flag effect. If you go after a sovereign leader, it is what it is. Even if you don't like that sovereign leader, you're going to go, hey, fuck you for attacking us. So they couldn't have done anything to more justify the position of the Iranian regime right now. It's now made it less likely that you get the kind of reforms that the West pretends to want. You have made their position stronger than it's ever been. Okay, that's what it is. And they don't want to acknowledge that, but it's the truth. You have the Iranian diaspora in fucking California out there protesting with the flag of the Shah, right? Wanting the days of the monarchy back. But those are people who've lived in the US for fucking decades. It's not the same on the ground in Iran. And of the people, there's plenty of people who are genuinely opposed to the IRGC, but they know that Israeli bombs and US bombs are not going to help them. It's just going to kill their family members. So that's where we are right now. How about this one? Israel's former PM, Naftali Bennett, a few days ago, quote, Turkey is the new Iran. They're not going to stop at Tehran. Israel is a threat to the entire Middle East. That's right. They're going to keep coming up with new targets, new people to blame, new people to overthrow. At the same time all this is going on, Israel reimposes a total siege on Gaza. Israel has closed all crossings into Gaza, including Rafah, until further notice. Sogat says humanitarian staff rotations are postponed, meaning no aid personnel can enter or leave. Israel falsely claimed, quote, the substantial quantities of food that have entered since the beginning of the ceasefire amount to 4 times the nutritional needs of the population. Are you insane? Therefore, the existing stock is expected to suffice for an extended period. UN says less than 170 of the daily 600 trucks have been entering Gaza during the ceasefire, or since the ceasefire began. So they've been bombing them, they've been attacking them while pretending there's a ceasefire, they've been limiting the trucks that go in since the ceasefire, and now they're saying, oh, we're going to shut it all down. They're also using this moment as the world is looking at Iran. Breaking, while Israel and the West Bank are under Iranian missile attacks, dozens of settlers, protected and escorted by the Israeli army, stormed the village of Huwara. They attacked Palestinian homes by throwing stones and terrorizing the community. So there are anti-Palestinian pogroms being committed by Zionist illegal Israeli settlers right now. They're using the cover of global war to do a pogrom against innocent Palestinians. That's what's happening. This is crazy too. the IDF is issuing a full evacuation order for scores of towns and villages in southern Lebanon. So they are now, Israel is doing what Israel does. They took all of Gaza. They're also going to try to take all the West Bank. Now they're going to try to take all of southern Lebanon. At the very least, all of southern Lebanon. Like I said, Netanyahu wants the Greater Israel Project to happen right now. He thinks this is the number one time to do it because he has Donald Trump under his thumb, because there's Epstein blackmail on Trump that Mossad has used. That's where we are right now. And at the same time all this is going on, Syria is under the leadership of Ahmed al-Shara. He released a statement condemning Iran, not the U.S. and Israel. After the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran first, he released a statement condemning Iran. Okay? And as Mark Ames says, LOL, Trump's al-Qaeda puppet approves. Yes, the al-Qaeda puppet approves of the Jeffrey Epstein war. But guess what? He thinks he's safe? Bro, you ain't safe. You ain't safe. Israel's going to keep knocking down like dominoes, one by one, all these countries in the Middle East. While we're on the topic of Epstein speculating that Trump, if cornered like a rat, could trigger a larger conflict, including bombing Iran to create a crisis and rally public support. The only thing is, Jeffrey, Trump miscalculated because he thought his approval would go up. It's plummeting even further down. I already predicted. There will be a Trump 29% approval rating poll coming out very soon. I'm already predicting it. There's going to be an official pollster with at least a 29% approval rating for Trump. I guarantee you. Okay? Now, here we go, where Jeffrey Epstein even noticed this guy is crazy, and he could do some shit that would destroy the world as we know it, right? Jeffrey fucking Epstein had him pegged, dog. Had him fucking pegged. And then, finally, let me point this out. Monday, March 2nd, okay? Monday, March 2nd, cities around the country, there will be protests. There will be anti-Iran war, anti-Jeffrey Epstein war protests, okay? So everybody go to answercoalition.org/Iran, and you can see what the deal is with those protests. Guys, this is crazy. Obviously, I'll have my eye on everything. I'll give you as many updates as I possibly can. But this is not good. This is not fucking good. Nobody's safe. The economy is cooked. The economy's barbecue chicken. This war is escalating and spiraling out of control. We're led by incompetent, loser, idiot fascists. So now is the time. Get out there. Make your voice heard. We need to let the world know these fucking imperialist, bloodthirsty, idiot goons do not represent us. We are against them. We're against them, and they need to be impeached. They need to be removed. They need to be locked up for their crimes against humanity.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.